Ba. Greetings to everyone. My name is Xiai Gu. Today, I will be explaining the divination technique of Qimen Dunjia. Firstly, let us understand the theoretical foundation of Qimen Dunjia. What kind of theory does it use for divination? How accurate is it? Through my extensive practice, I have found that this technique is highly valuable and deserves to be learned and inherited by everyone. Thus, I am sharing my many years of research with you. Let more people who are meant to learn this technique do so. First and foremost, everyone needs to understand the basic theory of Qimen Dunjia divination, which is the three factors theory. Please refer to the lecture notes below my profile picture. There is a Chinese proverb, favorable weather conditions, geographic advantages, and the unity of the people all must be in place. If not, victory will be costly. It means that only those who possess these three factors can succeed in their endeavors. The three factors refer to favorable timing, human harmony, and advantageous location. Qimen Dunjia simulates this theory for divination purposes. Observe the two people I have drawn below my profile picture. It represents that you cannot accomplish anything without dealing with people. Therefore, having someone to help or causing trouble are different. This refers to the condition of human harmony. Thus, in the middle, I have drawn two people, which represent this green area. The blue represents the sky, which symbolizes the stars on the heavenly plate. It mainly analyzes whether there is favorable timing. The stars represent the energy influence of the universe's planets and stars on people. Everyone now knows about dark matter and dark energy. The universe is vast, and we humans only understand 5% of what is known. The remaining 95% is beyond our comprehension and control. As a result, celestial bodies such as stars and planets in the universe can have an impact on humans and other things. For example, ultraviolet rays, which are invisible to the naked eye, can cause skin cancer and eye damage when they come into contact with our skin and eyes. However, this ultraviolet radiation is invisible to the naked eye. In the past, when humans had not yet discovered ultraviolet rays, they had no idea that they could cause such harm to us. Nowadays, people are aware of the harm that ultraviolet rays can cause. There are still so many unknowns in the universe. These stars, light, dark matter, and dark energy can all affect each and every one of us. Therefore, the ancient sages of China discovered this law. The 9 stars of the sky represent favorable and unfavorable opportunities. On the left side of this video, there is a Qimen chart, and on the right side, there is a colored chart. The blue represents the 9 stars that we summarize into 9 categories. The blue stars represent favorable timing. First, we need to understand this concept. The second aspect concerns the people you associate with, indicated by the green zone for human harmony. It's about the relationship between the heavenly stems and earthly stems in each palace. It's about whether people are helping or harming you. Then, the yellow represents the 8 doors, such as the death door, the shock door, and so on. As you can see, I use yellow to differentiate them, making it easier for everyone to understand. The yellow represents the advantageous location. It's about the geographical conditions and social environment that affect whatever you do. We mainly focus on 3 factors: favorable timing, human harmony, advantageous location. Qimen Dunjia divination simulates this theory. As long as 2 of the 3 factors support you and 1 factor that is hostile to you, then this hostile factor you can solve. This means that when you want to divine anything and an opposing factor appears, with your hard work and effort, you can ultimately achieve your goals and succeed. However, if 2 or 3 opposing factors appear, then the divination or prediction will not be successful. This is the most basic theory, and you must remember that it is the fundamental principle of divination. Okay, now we have a general standing. Everyone, look below my profile picture. It's a lesson plan that I wrote. The colored section is designed to help you better understand the material. Without this knowledge, we cannot comprehend Qi Men Dun Jia. Alright, now take a look at this Qi Men chart. I've used this time to make a Zhirun chart. This chart is Yang Dun 1 chart, and this one is Fu Yin chart. As you can see, all the stars and gates are in their original palaces. That means in the Qin Palace in the north, which is where Z is located. The blue symbol represents the Tianpeng star and the yellow one represents the rest door. Both of these symbols belong to the water element. Remember, Yang Dun 1 chart is a Fu Yin chart. And the 5-element attribute of each star and gate is determined by the palace position it belongs to, which is its own 5-element attribute. This is a characteristic of Fu Yin chart. We must learn to translate each symbol into its corresponding 5-element. What are these 5 elements? We must convert the symbols of these stars and doors into metal, wood, water, fire, or earth. Using the theory of the 5 elements, we can determine the auspiciousness or inauspiciousness of a matter. As you can see, the Tianpeng star and the rest door belong to water. Moreover, the Tianning star and the outlook door in the southern palace of the chart belong to fire. Remembering this chart will enable us to know the 5-element attributes. I wrote this down to help those who are new to Qi Men Dun Jia. We will need to use this knowledge in the future. If we look at this 9 palaces chart, the Qin Palace in the southwest is attributed to earth. So the Tian Qin star and Tian Rui star also belong to earth. As you can see from my mouse, this colored chart is a Fu Yin chart that I created. All of its stars and doors are in their original palaces. Then, take a look at the Gochen symbol at the top of the Li Palace, which refers to the heavenly plate deity symbol. In contrast, the Chen character at the bottom of the Li Palace is a shorthand for Gochen, referring to the earth plate deity. The symbols in the other palaces are the same, and so on. Look at my mouse cursor. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 symbols in each palace, making a total of 7 symbols. For instance, there are 7 symbols in the Sun Palace located in the southeast. Remember that in the 9 palaces chart, that the Tian Qin star and the heavenly stem in the center palace are always together with the Rui star. Therefore, when we look at a Qimen chart, we can only see the hidden stem and earth plate stem symbols in the central palace. When using the earthly stem in the central palace, combine it with the earthly stem in the Qin Palace. All other palaces have 7 symbols, except for the palace of the Tian Rui star, which has 9 symbols. Both the Tian Qin star and the Tian Rui star belong to the earth element. This is a Yang Dun 1 chart. Regardless of the type of chart, the Tian Qin star and the Tian Rui star are always in the same palace. As you can see, the green symbols represent the heavenly stem and earthly stem of the heavenly plate and earthly plate, respectively, which signify the interpersonal relationships between people. Using the 5 elements to analyze these relationships can help us better understand human interactions. The blue symbols represent stars, and their relationship with the 5 elemental properties of the palace they are in can help us understand auspicious timing. The yellow symbols represent doors, and their relationship with the 5 elemental properties of the palace they are in can help us understand the influence of the environment. In this Yang Dun 1 chart, the Delusion Door and Tian Fu stars are in the southeastern Sun Palace. On the right-hand side, you can see the 9 palaces chart, with the 5 elemental properties of each palace labeled. What is the elemental property of the Sun Palace in the southeast? As you can see, the Sun Palace is associated with wood. This means that both the Delusion Door and Tian Fu stars are also associated with wood. Similarly, the Tianren star and Growth Door in the Zhen Palace are associated with earth element, and so on for the other palaces. This allows us to understand the elemental properties of each star and door more clearly. The pink symbol represents the hidden stem and is located at the top position of each palace. The symbol without color at the bottom of each palace represents the earth plate deities. As you can see, Gochen represents the white tiger, called Gochen in the Yang Dun chart and white tiger in the Yin Dun chart. There are also Zhu Ke and Xian Wu, called Zhu Ke in the Yang Dun chart and Xian Wu in the Yin Dun chart. As far as I know, the English Qimen charts used in other countries do not have symbols for hidden stems and the earth plate deities in each palace, except in China. In other words, each palace only has 5 symbols. Let's take a look at an English Qimen chart that you often see. As you can see, it looks like this. In one palace, there is a injury door, Zhu Ke, heaven plate stem Xin, and earth plate stem Ding. Did everyone see it? Ing refers to the Tianing star, and as you can see, there are only 5 symbols in one palace. Adding to that, the Tianing star and the Zhen palace form a divination symbol. This is the English Qimen chart that you often see. What is missing? It lacks symbols for hidden stems and the earth plate deities, which are very important but often overlooked. Take a look at the colorful Qimen chart that I have drawn and compare it with the commonly used Qimen charts internationally, which are in this form. Therefore, from this perspective, the international popularity of Qimen Dunjia is not yet high. It has not been as well developed and widespread as in China. Therefore, we still need to learn and master more. Now that you have learned that divination using Qimen Dunjia involves the 3 factors theory. That is, favorable timing, human harmony, and advantageous location. When these 3 factors are favorable to us, success is more likely. If these 3 factors are unfavorable, it means that no matter what we divine, the outcome will not be successful. This is the core theory of Qimen Dunjia divination, please remember it. Great, let's delve into another important concept, known as the 5 elements. In Qimen, every symbol has its own 5 elements attribute. Take a look at my mouse. I drew the blue area. The blue symbols represent the stars of the heaven plate, which are 9 in total. Tian Peng, the first star, belongs to water. Rui, the second star, belongs to earth. Tian Chong, the third star, belongs to wood. Tian Fu, the fourth star, belongs to wood, and so on. All these symbols have an attribute of metal, wood, water, fire, or earth, which I have listed here. Let's now examine the Yang Dun 1 chart. Tian Fu and Tian Chong belong to wood. Since this is the Fu Yin chart, the attributes of the star and door are identical to the attributes of the palaces where they are located. The gray chart next to it is the 9 palaces chart, where I have indicated the 5 elements attributes of each palace. For example, in the Northern Kan Palace, both Tian Peng star and rest door belong to the water element. Similarly, Tianing star and outlook door in the Southernly Palace both belong to the fire element. Tian Qin, Tian Rui, and Tian Ren star all belong to the earth element, as do the death door and growth door. Right? By referring to the gray 9 palaces diagram I drew, you can quickly determine their elemental properties. Let's also learn the elemental properties of the 10 heavenly stems. Jia and Yi belong to the wood element, Bing and Ding belong to the fire element. Wu and Ji belong to the earth element, Gung and Xian belong to the metal element, and Ren and Gui belong to the water element. We need to understand some basic rules. Please take another look at the colored Fu Yin chart that I made. The pink symbols represent the hidden stems, which indicate information related to the matter being divined. This allows us to further analyze the development process of things. For example, if I want to divine whether my upcoming errand will be auspicious or inauspicious. The hidden stems represent the events that will happen or may occur after I leave for the errand. This is the most basic knowledge that everyone should understand. So, what is the heaven plate deity? The heavenly plate deity has 8 deities, which are actually 10 in name. 2 of these deities have 2 names each. One is called the White Tiger, also known as Gochen. The other is called the Xian Wu, also known as Zhu Ke. However, the same deity is called Gochen in the Yang Dun chart, but is called White Tiger in the Yin Dun chart. Similarly, Zhu Ke in the Yang Dun chart is called Xian Wu in the Yin Dun chart. Some people call them the 8 deities, while others call them the 10 deities. The same deity with different names represents slightly different meanings. So what do the heaven plate deity and earth plate deity represent? The heaven plate deity represents the external attributes of things, the external nature, qualities, and talents of people and things. It refers to the external characteristics of things and people. The earth plate deity represents the internal characteristics, thoughts, and essence of things and people. It represents the external features of things on one hand, and the internal nature on the other. This is the difference between the heavenly plate deity and earth plate deity. Alright, let's understand what a Ji Fu star is and what a Ji Shi door is. If we take a look at this Yang Dun 1 chart, the Ji Fu star is the Tian Peng star. So, this Tian Peng star is like the CEO of a large company. He has a lot of power. And the Ji Shi door refers to the rest door. The rest door is like the assistant or envoy representing the CEO. The assistant conveys the CEO's orders and tasks, but he is not clear about the specific contents of the instructions. The main analysis is whether the assistant is executing the work tasks given by the CEO with loyalty. Remember, there is a deity called the Ji Fu deity in the heaven plate deity. What does the Ji Fu deity in the heaven plate deity represent? The Ji Fu deity in the heaven plate deity represents the president of a large company. He has a high social status, representing nobles, celebrities, and so on. Sometimes in real-life society, the president is also the CEO of a large company. Please understand this metaphor. Therefore, the Zhi Fu deity in the heavenly plate deity represents having noble people helping oneself, and famous brand goods, celebrities, and authority, etc. The Jia stem of the Qimen Dunjia is hidden. No matter how you make the Qimen chart, this Jia stem will never be visible. Let's take a look at this chart. In this Qimen example, the hour is Jiazi within the Jiazi Sun. Sun refers to the cycle of 10 heavenly stems and earthly branches. This means that the Jia stem is concealed behind the Wu stem. So, where is this Wu stem? The Wu stem is in the northern Qin palace, indicating that the Jia stem is hidden here. This Wu stem represents the Jia stem. For example, the Jia stem is like the chairman of a large company. This chairman can call together the members of the board of directors to dismiss the president and CEO. This shows that the power of this Wu stem is great. Using this analogy, we can understand the relationship and responsibilities between these main symbols. If the Qimen chart is compared to an army, then the Wu stem, the hidden Jia stem, would be equivalent to the commander-in-chief of the three armed forces. The Zhi Fu star would be equivalent to the Minister of Defense and the Commander-in-Chief of Operations. The Zhi Shi door would be equivalent to the envoy of the Minister of Defense. The relationship between them directly affects success or failure. We analyze the relationship between the 5 elements of these symbols to make a determination. The main factor to consider is how many of the 3 factors are aiding the person seeking divination in representing their party. By using this method of divination, it is possible to determine whether the outcome will be auspicious or ominous. Let me briefly explain the basic principles of Qimen Dunjia. Now, let's move on to an actual divination example, so that you can experience the method and process of divination. Take a look at the example on my right. There are 2 ways to make an accurate Qimen chart. One is to use the local true solar time, and the other is to let the person seeking divination arbitrarily choose a time. Today, we will mainly focus on making a Qimen chart using the local true solar time. But before we do that, what are the prerequisites? The first condition is to determine the latitude and longitude of the querent's location. Where is the querent seeking divination? Regardless of where the querent is, we must know where they are seeking divination. Which town, place, is he in? Based on their location's latitude and longitude, we can calculate their local true solar time. Then, using the local true solar time, we can create a Zhi-Run method Qimen chart. This is very important in practice. Failing to understand this will directly affect the accuracy of divination. For example, suppose a person seeking divination is in Urumqi, China, where the current time in China is 12 p.m. on April 15, 2022, using Beijing time. Beijing time is determined based on Greenwich Mean Time at 120 degrees east. Beijing is located at 116 degrees east longitude, while Urumqi is located at 86 degrees east longitude. The time difference for each degree of longitude is 4 minutes. Therefore, the 2 cities are 2 hours apart, with a 30-degree difference in longitude. When converted to Urumqi's local solar time, it is 9:44 a.m. The time equation value for April 15th is 0. We can thus determine that the true solar time in Urumqi is 9:44 a.m. on April 15, 2022. We will use this time to create an accurate Qi Men Dun Jia chart using the Zhi-Run method. By considering these factors, we can ensure that our Qi Men Dun Jia chart is error-free. The second condition is that we need to understand the social environment and customs of the country where the person seeking divination is located. This is crucial. For example, I saw someone posting a Qimen Dun Jia chart on an online divination forum in December. He was asking for a forecast of tomorrow's weather where he is, but he didn't tell us which city he was in. Then someone started predicting online. They saw that the Tianzhu star was used in the Qimen chart, and that the Ren and Gui stems were in the Dui palace. According to the theory of Qimen Dun Jia, they concluded that it would snow there the next day. But the actual result was that the person was in Singapore, where it never snows all year round. Isn't that funny? I see many people using divination for entertainment and leisure online. It's not very rigorous as an academic study. Therefore, information such as the seeker's location, local true solar time, gender, and birth date must be understood before making predictions. Having basic background information will improve the accuracy of divination. Therefore, studying Qimen divination will be meaningful. This is very important. Without this background information, most divination predictions are just nonsense and have no meaning. It's like a patient going to see a doctor. Even though they know they have an upset stomach, they don't tell the doctor about their actual symptoms. They don't show the doctor their medical records, and instead let the doctor begin treating them without all the necessary information. This forces the doctor to spend a significant amount of time and energy examining and diagnosing the patient before discovering the underlying issue, a stomach problem. Not only is this approach costly for the patient, but it is also one that no patient would willingly choose. Any patient who chooses to withhold information from their doctor in this manner is acting foolishly. Therefore, informing the doctor about a patient's symptoms in advance can aid the doctor in making an accurate diagnosis, leading to more efficient treatment and potentially prolonging the patient's lifespan. The same applies to the technique of divination and prediction. In other words, when performing divination, we need to consider where the seeker is, the legal time regulated by the government, and whether there is daylight saving time. We also need to know whether the seeker is male or female, their birth date, and the specific question they want to ask. Based on these conditions, we can create an accurate Qi Men Dun Jia chart. With practice and experience, we can improve the accuracy of our divination. Therefore, it is important to have known conditions before performing divination. I have created a Facebook group for Qi Men Dun Jia divination, which now has nearly 3,000 members. One member posted a Qi Men chart in the group, revealing only that their year pillar stem is Xian, and presented a question for divination. This prompted everyone to start making predictions and divinations for this person. However, nobody knows his exact birth year, month, or the city he was born in. With such limited information, the chance of making a mistake in the divination is already at 50%. As a result, the accuracy rate will naturally be very low in the end. Without the knowledge of the person's stem and branch of the year of birth, you cannot even determine their moving year. By looking at the falling palace of the moving year, you can determine what kind of luck the person had in that year. Qi Men Dun Jia is based on the theory of heavenly stems, which is correct, but even the most advanced divination method of Qi Men Dun Jia involves the use of earthly branches. This refers to the method of Dun Jia Chuan Run, which combines the divination methods of Qi Men Dun Jia and De Lu Run. Chinese divination has three major schools. The first being Tai Yi, which uses the changes of stars in the sky to predict the rise and fall of a society or country. The second is De Lu Run, which is based on the theory of earthly branches and is used to predict the daily trivial matters of people's lives. The third is Qi Men Dun Jia, which is based on the theory of heavenly stems and was originally used to predict military warfare, but is now applied to various aspects of life. Qimen focuses on selecting auspicious days, times, and directions, so Qimen divination cannot be separated from the theory of earthly branches. Using the Dunjia Chuanren method can greatly improve the accuracy of divination. Therefore, if the person seeking divination only provides the heavenly stem of his year of birth, it is impossible to deduce their fortune for each year. Additionally, how is each person's Chinese zodiac sign determined? It is determined based on the time of the beginning of spring each year. The time of the beginning of spring varies slightly each year, but it is usually around February 6th. For example, in this chart, the beginning of spring in 1984 started at 23:21 on February 4th. If the person seeking divination was born after February 5, 1984, according to the local true solar time, then they belong to the year of the rat. If the person seeking divination was born before February 4, 1984, according to the local true solar time, then they belong to the year of the pig. It is important to understand this clearly, otherwise the divination will be incorrect from the beginning. Therefore, knowing the birth date of the person seeking divination is crucial. It can greatly improve the accuracy of divination. Once all of this is understood, the next step is to clarify what the person seeking divination wants to divine. The matter being divined must be in accordance with social norms and legal matters. You cannot divine illegal or immoral matters. If it harms others or oneself, why bother divining it? There are also professional codes of conduct for diviners, which prohibit divining illegal matters. The human desire for greed is endless. For example, a person seeking divination may purchase a $2 lottery ticket to see if they can win $1 billion. This type of divination is acceptable for 1 or 2 attempts. According to the rules of divination, after divining the same thing 3 times in a row, it has no positive reference value for the person. However, if a person seeks divination every day with the hope of winning $1 billion, the divination prediction will not be accurate. I can tell you with certainty that almost 99.9% of people will never achieve this goal in their lifetime. Because there are hundreds of millions of people participating, and only one person will be lucky enough to win the jackpot, the odds of winning are too low. Only people with a special Ba Zi configuration have a chance. They must have the indirect wealth as the useful deity, indirect wealth meaning unexpected wealth, and the symbol of wealthy storage. If their major luck period and annual luck are both in favor of wealth, then they have a chance to win the jackpot. However, people with this Ba Zi configuration are extremely rare. Therefore, the direction of studying Qimen Dunjia cannot go astray. If one deviates from the research direction, this person has fallen into demonic ways. Hence, those who use Qimen Dunjia to divinate every day and hope to win the lottery jackpot are almost impossible to succeed. But if someone only divinates once or twice and asks if they have a chance to win a big lottery prize, that can be divinated and the correct answer can be easily obtained. Therefore, for those who study Qimen Dunjia divination, the level of their life wisdom is hierarchical. A truly high-level person will not do things that cannot achieve their goals. Thus, divination and prediction must conform to the norms of society. If it does not conform, it cannot be accurately predicted. Alright, let's now examine the divination case on my right. It can provide accurate predictions without requiring the seeker's birth date. Why? Because the topic of this divination case is predicting whether a person who is coming to talk business with me tomorrow can successfully close the deal. The result of this matter will be known tomorrow, indicating that the general trend of whether it is good or bad has already been determined. Thus, for this type of example, knowledge of the seeker's birthdate is not necessary. However, if the divination question pertains to predicting financial luck for the year or job opportunities in recent years, the seeker's birthdate is required. For such questions, knowing the seeker's birthdate is necessary. If the divination question is related to marriage or love between two people, then it is imperative to know the birthdates of both individuals. Without birthdate information, the accuracy of the divination will decrease. In other words, for significant matters concerning fate, it is necessary to know the seeker's birthdate. Moreover, it is advisable to have the seeker's birthdate information for all divinations. This can facilitate the study and enhancement of divination skills. Another crucial point is that it is difficult to predict accurately if the country and city of the person seeking divination are unknown. Most of the predicted results will be wrong, and the accuracy will be very low. Watch me explain this case of divination and gradually guide everyone to learn this skill. Alright, everyone, take a look. A woman is seeking divination in Jinan, China. I found out that the longitude of Jinan is 117 degrees east. Therefore, I converted Beijing time to local solar time, and I used this time to make a Zhi-Run method Qimen chart. There are dozens of methods to make a Qimen chart using the Qimen Dunjia system. These include the Zhi-Run method, the Cai Bu method, and the Taoist Qimen method, among others. So which method is the best? They all simulate the laws of the universe and nature to predict people's fortunes. Comparatively, there must be one method that is the best, closest to the truth and science. Through my practice, I found that the Zhi-Run method invented by ancient people has the highest accuracy. Therefore, I made a Qimen chart using the Zhi-Run method. Nowadays, people often use the Cai Bu method to make Qimen plates. The Qimen chart made by the Cai Bu method are approximately 40% different from those made by the Zhi-Run method. Because the Cai Bu method is easier and simpler to make a Qimen chart, it is more popular now. However, its accuracy is limited. Without practicing and researching for more than a decade, it is impossible to know the correct result. Okay, let's take a look at this divination case. I created a Qimen chart using the local true solar time and the Zhi-Run method. I also added some commonly used symbols of De Lu Ren, such as Heaven Travel Horse, Ding Travel Horse, and Bai Ko, among others. What question is she trying to divine in this example? It is about a person who will come to discuss business with her today. She wants to know if the business will ultimately be successful. If the business is concluded, the person will give her a deposit and sign a contract with her. For a small business, the person will typically provide her with a deposit and a verbal agreement. Okay, let's predict the outcome of this matter. We don't need to concern ourselves with anything else. The Qimen chart I created is Yin Dun 8 chart. First of all, let's look at the Zhifu star, which is Tian Zhu star. This Zhifu star is responsible for the overall divination. So the Tian Zhu star is like the CEO of a large company, and its power is significant. The Tian Zhu star represents the main pillar and also represents the side that is favorable to the master and unfavorable to the guest. This means that someone coming to the divination seeker to discuss business indicates that this matter is advantageous to the seeker, and unfavorable for the person taking the initiative to discuss business. The Zhi-Shi door is the shock door, which represents the assistant to the CEO. As for the shock door symbol, on the positive side, it represents surprises, while on the negative side, it represents events that cause fear. Next, let's see where the lead stem Jia is located. The time for divination is Dingxi hour. So this Dingxi belongs to the Jiasu Sun. Sun refers to the cycle of 10 heavenly stems and earthly branches. The Jia stem of the Jiasu Sun is hidden behind the Ji stem. Therefore, the Ji stem is the lead stem, equivalent to the company's chairman or the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. How can we determine which Sun? Sun refers to the cycle of 10 heavenly stems and earthly branches, the time of divination belongs to. Let me show you a table in my presentation that explains this. What's the pattern? Look at my mouse pointer, the 60-year Jiazi cycle chart located below my video avatar. That's the table I'm referring to. Everyone, take a look. Among the 10 combinations of celestial stems and terrestrial branches from Jiazi to Guiyu, the Jia in this Jiazi is hidden behind this Wu. Out of the 60 combinations of celestial stems and terrestrial branches, there are a total of 6 hidden Jia stems. This Jia stem is equivalent to a chairman or a commander-in-chief. Alright, so where are these 6 hidden Jia stems located? This is very important, and everyone should memorize it. In the Jiazi Sun, Jia is hidden behind Wu. In the Jiasu Sun, Jia is hidden behind Ji. In the Jiashan Sun, Jia is hidden behind Gung. In the Jiawu Sun, Jia is hidden behind Xian. In the Jiachen Sun, Jia is hidden behind Ren. In the Jiayin Sun, Jia is hidden behind Gui. Therefore, looking at this divination example, when the time to be divined is Xinc, it is in the Jiasu Sun. Therefore, we know that in our example, the hidden Jia stem in the Jiasu Sun is behind Ji. So in this example, Ji stem is equivalent to a chairman or a commander-in-chief, the person with the greatest power, and he is hidden. That is, the person with the greatest power is hidden. So the Ji Fu star is the Tian Zhu star, which is equivalent to the company's CEO. There is also a symbol, known as the Ji Fu deity of the heaven plate, which is equivalent to the president of a company. Think about the status and power of a company's president. They have a high social standing, have connections to influential people, and may be a celebrity. Some companies have the same person serving as both the president and CEO. Okay, now let's look at Jia hidden behind Ji. This Ji stem is equivalent to the company's chairman. So when the CEO does not perform well, the chairman has the power to call for a board meeting to remove the CEO and president. Because the president and CEO are selected by the company's board of directors. Therefore, whoever holds the hidden Jia stem behind them is the chairman or commander-in-chief of the company. We will analyze a Qimen chart and mainly focus on these symbols, using the theory of 3 factors to simulate the development and trend of events. The Ji Fu star is the Tianzhu star, which represents the timing. We will examine its relationship with the 5 elements of the 9 palaces. The Tianzhu star belongs to the metal element and falls in the Kun palace, which belongs to the earth element. This creates a relationship of earth producing metal, which means that the earth palace generates the heavenly palace. The Ji-Shi door is the shock door, which represents the favorable location. We will examine its relationship with the 5 elements of the 9 palaces. Shock door belongs to the metal element and falls in the Li palace, which belongs to the fire element. This is the relationship of fire overcoming metal, which means that the earthly plate restrains the heavenly plate. We will mainly examine the relationship between the Zhi Fu star, Zhi Shi door, and the 5 elements of the 9 palaces. The time of the divination case is Qimen, then we look at the heavenly stem of the hour, which is Qimen, indicating the person and relationships. What palace does the earthly plate's Qimen stem fall into? We see that the earthly plate's Qimen stem falls in the center palace. As we have previously mentioned, all the symbols in the central palace, except for the hidden stem, are hosted in the Quen palace. Now, the Qimen stem has moved to the Quen palace. The Qimen stem belongs to the metal element, and the heaven stem in the Quen palace is Ji, which belongs to the earth element. This represents earth giving birth to metal, which means that the heavenly palace generates the earth palace. Please remember, no matter what is being divined, all the symbols in the Qimen chart can be divided into 2 opposing factions, the heavenly palace and the earthly palace. We analyze the interplay between these 2 factions to determine which one has the advantage. So how can we determine whether the divination for the one seeking divination in question pertains to the heavenly plate or the earthly plate? As you can see, these 2 sentences are very important. Yang stems, such as Jia, Yi, Bing, Ding, and Wu, are classified as heavenly plate, represents the guest. While Yin stems, such as Ji, Gung, Xian, Run, and Gui, are regarded as earthly plate, represents the host. When the person seeking divination encounters Ji, Gung, Xian, Run, and Gui stems in the time of divination, the person seeking divination and the question asked represent the earthly plate, which is considered as the person's own side. The heavenly plate represents the opponent and the enemy. Then, we examine the 5 elements of both sides to determine which side has the advantage. In the example of divination that I have provided, the time is Qimen, which means that the earthly plate represent the matter that the divination seeker wants to inquire about. In this case, the earthly plate represent the matter of the divination seeker's business negotiations. If the 5-element relationship is favorable to the earthly plate, it means that the divination seeker's business will succeed. Otherwise, it will not. Alright, we have determined that the Zhi Fu star is Tianzhu star, belongs to the metal element and falls in the Quen palace, which belongs to the earth element. This creates a relationship of earth producing metal, which means that the earth plate generates the heavenly plate. The Zhi Shi door is the shock door, belongs to the metal element and falls in the Li palace, which belongs to the fire element. This is the relationship of fire overcoming metal, which means that the earthly plate restrains the heavenly plate. The earthly plate of the divination time is Xian stem, belongs to the metal element, and the heaven stem in the Quen palace is Ji, which belongs to the earth element. This is the relationship of earth generating metal, which means that the heavenly plate generates the earth plate. Now, the earthly plate represents the business that the person seeking divination is going to talk about, which is considered as our side. The heavenly plate represents the opponent, metaphorically referred to as the other party. This refers to the person who comes to seek business with the person seeking divination. Currently, there are 3 relationships. The first is our side generating the opponent's side, the second is our side overcoming the opponent's side, and the third is the opponent's side generating and assisting our side. Clearly, this business negotiation is advantageous to the earthly plate, meaning that it is favorable for the person seeking divination. The more advantageous factors there are, the greater the chance that the business of the person seeking divination will be successful. Therefore, the three factors represent the core theory of Qimen Dunjia divination. Currently, both in China and other countries, the most popular Qimen Dunjia divination method used by people is the useful deity method. The most widely shared divination methods online and in books mostly involve using the useful deity method for prediction. How do they use the useful deity method for divination? For example, when divining work-related matters, they will look at the symbol for the open door. For matters related to divination of financial fortune, they will look at the symbol for the growth door. Then, they will analyze the birth and restraint relationship between the day stem and hour stem. They will also refer to the symbols for the Zhi Fu star and Zhi Shi door to determine whether the divination is auspicious or inauspicious. After practicing divination for a long time, you will find that the accuracy of using the useful deity method can only reach about 60%. There is simply no way to improve it. Therefore, through my research and practice, I teach the method of Dunjia Chuanren. It includes the methods of Fu Shi, useful deity, and the prediction method of the Dalu Ren. This method can achieve an accuracy rate of about 90%, which is quite high. Therefore, I am sharing it with everyone and hoping that everyone can master this skill. The divination example I gave today is relatively simple and easy to judge. It is like catching a slight cold in life. You don't need to find a doctor, just rest well and your body will recover. Looking at today's divination example, as long as you learn the basic divination methods, you can accurately judge the results. Therefore, it is meaningful to popularize the divination method of Qimen Dunjia. The second type of divination example is more challenging and can only be answered by intermediate-level diviners. For example, in life, when someone gets seriously ill, they must go to a professional doctor for treatment. Similarly, if you only have a basic understanding of divination, you will definitely not be able to give the correct answer. The third type is where even the most skilled professional diviner cannot provide an answer. It is impossible to give the seeker a way to avoid misfortune and find good fortune to solve the problem. In other words, there is no solution to the matter being sought. It is beyond anyone's control, and only nature can take its course. For example, if a person is diagnosed with late-stage cancer, even if they undergo chemotherapy, they can only live for 2 to 3 years at most. If they offer to pay the doctor $1 million or $10 million to make them healthy and live longer, it would still be impossible with the current medical technology. The same principle applies. For some divination examples, even the best diviner cannot meet the seeker's goals. For example, some people use Qimen divination every day to try and win $1 billion lottery jackpot. As mentioned earlier, in general, being obsessed with this type of divination is not accurate in predicting the future, and will not truly improve one's divination skills. All divination theories must conform to social norms and laws, as well as the laws of nature. If the context of the divination situation is not taken into account, the accuracy of the prediction will certainly decrease. Another thing to keep in mind is that all divination symbols have two opposing interpretations. One is an interpretation of good fortune, and the other is an interpretation of bad luck. As for which interpretation to take, it depends on what you are divining about. For example, if someone wants to divine their own health status, the Rui star represents the symptoms and location of the illness, and if it encounters the open door or growth door, it is believed that the person is healthy. However, this is not necessarily accurate, as the growth door can also represent an illness becoming more severe. Similarly, if a person's year stem meets the open door or growth door, it is not always an indication of good health. The open door represents the spread of the illness, while the rest door represents shock and death. Therefore, relying solely on the useful deity method in Qimen learning will lead to limited accuracy in divination. For example, someone comes to divinate their love and marriage. When encountering the delusion door, it means shutting the door, metaphorically representing a couple sleeping together at night. It is a manifestation of happy love. Therefore, encountering the delusion door does not represent a bad omen. When encountering the open door, it means revealing personal feelings without any concealment. Imagine a couple sleeping together at night, but everyone in the community can see them. That's definitely not good. So when encountering the open door, it represents a problem in the couple's love and marriage. Remember, all symbols have both positive and negative interpretations. Alright, let's take this divination example. How will today's business dealings go? The Ji-Shi door encounters the shock door, which represents fear and dread, and indicates inauspicious accidents or events. However, the shock door can also signify surprises. So, how do we determine whether the symbol's interpretation is favorable or unfavorable? Use the three factors method to judge Qimen divination. We look at how many advantageous factors the seeker's side has. If the seeker's side has more favorable conditions than the other side, it means that the divination result is auspicious. Then, we use the symbol's favorable interpretation, which is the general principle. Okay, let's take a look at this example again. As I mentioned before, the earth plate refers to the side of the one seeking divination and also refers to our own side. Alright, the Ji-Fu star is Tianzhu star, belongs to the metal element and falls in the Kuan palace, which belongs to the earth element, meaning that our side supports the other side. The Ji-Shi door is the shock door, belongs to the metal element and falls in the Li palace, which belongs to the fire element. This is the relationship of fire overcoming metal, meaning that our side can control the other side. The earthly plate of the divination time is Xian stem, belongs to the metal element, and the heaven stem in the Kuan palace is Ji, which belongs to the earth element. This is the relationship of earth generating metal, meaning that the other side supports our side. These three factors combined indicate that it is definitely advantageous for our side, which means it is advantageous for the one seeking divination. This suggests that there is a high chance of success in business negotiations today. If only one of the three factors is overcoming, generally speaking, the one seeking divination's goal will eventually be achieved. Based on the three factors and the five elements relationships, we can conclude that the seeker has a high chance of success in business negotiations today. We also see that within the palace that the shock door, there is a E stem in the earth plate. In other words, the side represented by the person seeking divination has obtained a E stem. Please remember that during divination, if the side represented by the person seeking divination encounters any of the E, Bing, or Ding stem, it means that something very auspicious and miraculous will happen. It represents the ability of the person seeking divination to overcome any difficulties and achieve their goals. This means that the final result will reach the person seeking divination's goal. Now there is a Ding stem on the earth plate where the Zhi Fu star falls in Kuan Palace. In the palace of the shock door, there is a E stem on the earth plate. The earth plate represents our side, representing the seeker of the divination. This indicates that the person seeking divination will definitely succeed in their business dealings today. We also see that in the palace of the shock door, there is a Ding stem on the heavenly plate. The heavenly plate represents the other party, indicating that both parties will be very satisfied with the results of this business deal. Let's take a look at the feedback from the one seeking divination. At 1:40 p.m. that day, referring to Gui Wei time, the business deal was concluded. The client provided a deposit, and both parties signed a contract which came into effect. The contract stipulated that the goods would be shipped within 7 days. After the client received the goods, the remaining payment would be transferred to the client who sought divination. Everyone, this was my analysis and judgment at the time. The use of time is Xian stem for divination, and the earth plate represents the seeker. The relationship between the three factors is that one is that the earth plate gives birth to the heavenly plate, the parental enters the Qimen chart. The other is that the heavenly plate gives birth to the earth plate, the offsprings enter the Qimen chart. And the other is that the earth plate overcomes the heavenly plate, the officer and ghost enters the Qimen chart. This Qimen chart belongs to the positive hexagram. What does a positive hexagram indicate? It indicates that among the three factors, only one has been overcome, or there is no overcoming factor at all. The negative hexagrams refer to the Qimen chart with the relationship between two overcomes or three overcomes among the three factors, which are called negative hexagrams. A positive hexagram means that the development of the situation will become increasingly prosperous and the trend is upward, which is consistent with the wishes of the client who sought divination. A negative hexagram means that the development of the situation will increasingly deviate from the wishes of the client who sought divination, and the prospects are increasingly bleak. This divination example represents a positive hexagram because there is only one overcome relationship, making it a positive hexagram. What is the six relatives relationship in Qimen Dunjia? People who have learned the 8 trigrams divination know what it is. It refers to the parental line, the officer ghost line, and so on. It also simulates the status and role of people in the family and society in reality based on the relationship between the 5 elements. When it is necessary to determine the relationship among the 6 relatives, in Qimen, the heavenly plate is always used to represent our side. Let's take a look at the relationship between the Tianzhu star and the Kuan palace is that the earth plate gives birth to the heaven plate. It means that the other party supports or helps us. Then this other party is equivalent to my parents. Why is that? Because parents raise us until we are adults. So when this kind of relationship appears, it is called the parental star entering the Qimen chart. Because the parental star represents parents, it also represents houses, certificates, contracts, agreements, etc. Everything that protects me is called the parental star. In this divination example, of parental star appears. This indicates that the contract agreement has appeared, which is a good thing for today's business. If there is no parental star appearing, it means that the result of today's business negotiation has not reached the stage of signing a contract. Not signing a contract means that the business has not been negotiated successfully. Therefore, everyone should slowly experience and learn about this Qimen 6 relatives relationship. You can look for information on 8 trigrams divination or Batsi to further understand what the 6 relatives relationship is, which is how the relationship between the 5 elements is transformed into offsprings, spouse wealth, etc. In the future, I will talk about the 6 relatives of Batsi when I have time. Alright, let's take a look at the predictive analysis I wrote again. The Zhi door refers to shock door, and there is E stem on the earth plate of shock door, which means that the business can be negotiated successfully. As I mentioned earlier, as long as there is any one of E, Bing, or Ding stem, on the side representing the seeker, it means that the divination will develop towards a good side. If the heavenly plate has the Ding stem and the earthly plate has the E and Ding stem, it represents that both parties will be satisfied with the result of the business. Then why is it said that they will sign a contract during the Guiwei hour of that day? And how was this time determined? Let's take a look at the 60 Jiazi table. I have found it and you can find it in the transcript under my video. As you can see, the divination time was during the XINC hour. Where is XINC? XINC is here. And below it is Renwu, followed by Guiwei. Therefore, Guiwei represents the time between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. on the day of the divination. If we continue to look at the table, we can see another Jichou. Jichou represents the time between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. on the second day of the divination. However, she was divining about business matters that day. Therefore, it cannot be the next day's Jichou time, 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning. So rule it out. Okay, let's take a look at this Qimen chart. The void palace during the XINC hour on that day is Shen and Yu. Shen and Yu refer to Kuan palace and Dui palace. So, the Tianzhu star is in Kuan Palace, which is the Zhifu Palace. As I mentioned earlier, the palace where the Zhifu star is located is like the CEO of a company, directly in charge of the matters that the person who seeks divination wants to inquire about. Now that the Zhifu Palace is void, it means that this business has not yet produced results and is still in progress. There is a Ji stem in the Zhifu Palace now. In the palace opposite it, there is a Gui stem. According to the Qimen Dunjia theory, when determining the time for divination results, if the Zhifu Palace is void, wait until the heavenly stem in the Zhifu Palace or the opposite palace appears. This will indicate the final outcome of the matter. Therefore, now there is a Ji stem and a Gui stem. We have already ruled out Jicho just now. So, there is only one Gui stem left. The time of divination on that day was the Xinc hour. Following the order of the 60 Jiazi, the second one after Xinc is Gui Wei. So, it is at the Gui Wei hour on that day when the business will be finalized and a contract will be signed. The Gui Wei hour refers to 1 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Alright, that's the end of the example for divination today. I wonder how much you all understood. Here, we are explaining some relatively simple examples, with the goal of helping everyone learn this skill step by step. Once everyone has learned the basics, we will then teach some higher-level Qimen Dunjia divination skills. I hope that you will listen to the lessons repeatedly until you have mastered them. For those interested, you can search for my group Divination of Qi Men Dun Jia in Zen on Facebook and join for learning and exchange. Let's make sure that this amazing divination skill is learned and applied by more people, and continue the legacy left by the ancient Chinese sages to benefit humanity. Join me in inheriting this precious heritage. I hope that my video has been helpful to you all. And I hope that you will follow and subscribe to my channel. Amitabha. Also, please make sure to follow and subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again. Amitabha Buddha.